name's Chris Shire. I'm here to represent the Internet of Things Security Foundation, which you've probably never heard of, but we're getting there. It's primarily a UK organisation which is trying to look at why do we need security in IoT, in connected devices? Well, as has been suggested by many people, it depends how you want to measure it, the value of connected devices, IoT, is millions, if not trillions, because the services which are running over them is going to be a key factor. I don't care which figure you use, it is going to affect all of our lives. And that's important, because you want to keep your lives safe and secure. This is the standard fear cell slide. Why do you need security? Because if you don't, somebody's going to come along and do something nasty to you. More to the point, when it comes to things like connected TVs and connected devices, 20 years of audit. I'd love to be the auditor who's got that contract. On the other hand, yes, it's been mentioned, sorry, there's a slight missing, that should be 2 to 4%, don't worry. You'll be at GDPR, it's only a small percentage of your business. But look at connected devices. The latest thing for connected TVs is a browser interface. If you like the technology HBB-TV, it can be attacked. Then what fun can you have? And that's the point. We need to think about not just today where we're going to be, but what we're going to be doing in the future, and what we need to do if we're going to supply tools and devices and products and solutions. People buy a product, a service, and they put it in their home, and it's going to be there perhaps for 5 years, perhaps for 10. The warranty might be 12 months. Your responsibility might last longer. So the Internet of Things Security Foundation was put together about a year or so ago now. It's a collection of people from various backgrounds, and basically we're trying to drive the quality into the Internet of Things, the quality of the security. We want to make it safe to connect. So we're going to put security first. Is that our part of our philosophy, to try and make people think before you design the damn product, work out does it need, how secure does it need to be? And is it right? Are we doing the right things? Is the data that's going to be coming out of that device the right sort of data? And the life cycle. If I've got my connected device and it's working well, and I load it with all my useful information that I need, all those little passwords and certificates and things like that, which just make it so easy to browse on my connected device. What happens when I decide to move it, upgrade, and sell the old one on eBay? Does my data stay with me? Don't know. So here's a few of our people. As you can see, there's a real mishmash of people from all sorts of backgrounds, including operators and MNOs and the like, but also people who are into security. We're a typical working group, focused team of people, and we're looking at all sorts of things that you think would be sensible, like connected homes. Like, what about constrained devices? Those little gadgets which are just sitting on your tabletop and gathering all that useful information. Perhaps you need to work out how to patch things over the next 5 years. That'll be interesting. Securely, of course. And what about vulnerability? I mean, there has been known, forgive me for the lawyers in the room, but there has been known situations where somebody has found a vulnerability, put their hand up and said, look, watch out. And the next thing they do is find they're being litigated for throwing up a vulnerability. Not always a good plan. So you need to work out how to make that happen. And you need to look at where we're going in the long term of the landscape. So what do we do? Well, we have lots of meetings. Well, actually, we don't have lots of meetings. We have lots of phone calls. We have the occasional virtual plenary meetings, and we occasionally actually talk to each other face to face, which is really quite scary because you put 50 or 60 security people in one room, and the results are interesting. So, the obvious questions for you. My connected device, my connected TV, my connected home. Who owns that security? Whose responsibility is it? Well, it's obviously the person that I'm paying my subscription to. Maybe. My perspective is it's also me. I have to form a relationship with the people I'm working in business. I have to form a relationship at the end of the day in the consumer space as well. So what can I do together with the person who's supplying the product to me? If I buy it through some odd online channel and it turns up in a cardboard box and it sort of works, it's probably all my responsibility. What we can do is, as mentioned before, about best practice. And what about getting ahead of the regulation? Because regulation will come. Luke was quite right, it's always behind the times, but it's inevitable, and you've got to think about that as an organisation, as from a supply side. So the nice thing to say is it's everybody's responsibility. But in fact, there's a whole list of people who are going to be involved in the steps. If it goes wrong, who are you going to complain to? You're going to complain to the retailer, perhaps the ombudsman, perhaps a regulator, or further up the chain? And who's going to take that responsibility? Who's going to get litigated? I keep throwing that one in just to keep the lawyers happy. But it'll happen. So what do? We, as a group of people, tried to come up with some best practice guides. So we came up with best practice guidelines on what to do, what to look for, what to check for, and that runs to not just the guide itself, but the websites behind it. That runs to an awful lot of support. It's not a 5-minute job, and yes, I'm sorry, Shaq, it involves an awful lot of checklists. It's all free to download. And then the compliance framework. This is the checklist of checklists. I'm sorry. Basically, it runs to the last count about 30-odd pages, and a lot of it is about going through it line by line. I'm sorry, there are no shortcuts. If you want to be compliant in the same way that your financial books are compliant, in the same way your health and safety is compliant, your security needs to be compliant. What it basically comes down to is two sets of things. There's organisational needs. Somebody has to take responsibility. And they need to have the organisation underneath that board level business area who's going to bring the support, the technical support and organisation support. We're going to need more compliance officers, which is a good thing. And you're going to probably need some third-party security analysts. Not everybody has the expertise. But this small data becomes big data. And that's the point. You will need to do risk assessments, personal risk assessments. Did I close the door? Did I lock my car? You will need to check you've got security mechanisms which are strong and will remain strong for the next 5 years and can be evaluated to that. If you're doing a compliance, almost the second thing you do after saying, I'm going to check this, is you've got to put together some evidence, which you may need to disclose later, to say, yes, I took reasonable endeavours to make sure this product was secure and safe and the information was private. That's not a 5-minute job. We've straw tested this on a couple of large consumer companies on one product. And the compliance check took them about 2 weeks to gather all the information and data. Okay, then perhaps the next time they do an iteration, it'll take a little less time. And there's a word, I'm sorry, I haven't come up with it. There should be a shorter word than it sounds like a George Bushism, disclosability, but basically you've got a way of saying, yeah, we made a problem, we found the problem, and we fixed the problem. There are some very good examples in the press where that has happened, and there have been, as I say, some examples where people have tried to bury it under a carpet. But it is not just one person's responsibility to manage all this. It is like organisations. So if you're interested in privacy and security and connecting your things correctly, and you want to make sure that you're doing it the right way, and you want to get an inside edge, come and join us. There's room for another one down here, at least. I can't guarantee that it's going to change your life, but if you have somebody who's interested in this space, we would like more advice. We haven't got all the answers, but we're going to have a damn good try and doing the best we can. The nice thing is it's not going to cost you an arm and a leg. If you're interested, have a look at the website. download the guides, use them. They are in the Creative Commons license. We're not charging for them at all at the moment, and don't plan to. And we're always looking for feedback from anybody. We have shown this around the world. We've got some very useful feedback from the regulators type groups in Australia, for example, in America, in Europe. They all say it's a good idea. And we'll have to keep working at this probably for a long time to come. Thank you.
Thanks, Chris. Who has a question for Chris? All right, so same question I asked John. You talked about best practice.
Mm-hmm.
Who is exhibiting best practice today? Give me an example.
Who's exhibiting best practice? Very difficult. I couldn't put my finger on one company that would say it's got it 100% right yet.
What mistakes are being made then?
They've made.
What are the most common mistakes?
I think the most common mistake is there's a timeline for deploying a service or a product. They put advertising in place and they're going to launch. And the last thing they worry about is, oh my God, it was secure, wasn't it? And that's scary when people sort of put security in as it's almost the last test. And that does happen. I mean, there's without saying the details, there's a large government program which you probably haven't heard of, but it might be in your home if you don't know about it, where security literally was the last test. And then after they deployed some, they noticed, oh my God. And the current suggestion is the guys who deployed all the kit might have to go back and pull it all back out again, which is very expensive. The kit was quite cheap.
So what was that?
Smart meters.
Smart meters, right.
But it's other products do, the connected world we live in, we don't have no choice. But how do you keep that maintained? Patching is a daily occurrence. It is for my certain well-known US-based graphic system I use on my PC. I seem to get a patch every day, or Tuesdays at least. But other people, I don't know about. It just worries me.
Some people ignore the patches.
And some people ignore the patches, which is, there leads us to the path of darkness.
Pay some ransom as a result.
If you're not careful. Thank you.
Thanks.